A man who reacts first is a man who loses control. The moment you respond on someone else's timeline, you've already stepped into their frame. You've surrendered your pace, your balance, your ability to dictate the rhythm of the exchange. And while you're scrambling to answer, they're already shaping the next trap. The most dominant figures, whether in royal courts, corporate boardrooms, or political circles, rarely move quickly. It's not because they're slow, timid, or weak. It's because they know something most people overlook: timing is power. And in nearly every conflict, the first to react is the first to fall. Niccolo Machiavelli warned against being predictable, but he went further, warning against being immediately responsive. In politics, business, or social maneuvering, the man who reacts first exposes more than his opinion. He shows his emotional state. He reveals his desperation. He broadcasts his lack of leverage. The power player doesn't rush. He watches. He listens. He lets others expose their intentions, their fears, their level of control. Only when the field is fully visible does he move. This isn't cowardice, it's precision. It's the art of controlling the outcome by first controlling yourself. In our era of instant replies, viral outrage, and relentless emotional bait, the ability to not react is a kind of modern invincibility. Every time you take the bait and fire back, you hand over something irreplaceable: your calm, your detachment, and your power to choose the moment and method of engagement. That's why provokers don't fear the impulsive man. They depend on him. But they're unsettled sometimes, even intimidated by the one who meets their challenge with stillness. The one who listens, whose eyes give nothing away, whose silence says, "You're not worth my energy." Not yet. Machiavelli's model of power wasn't built on speed. It was built on restraint, on emotional discipline, and a willingness to let chaos burn itself out on the other side of the field before lifting a finger. Think of every great betrayal in history. The fool demands justice, immediately shouting for recognition and rushing to punish. The master waits. He gathers allies, secures his position, and strikes only when the blow will be final. The first mover must guess the opponent's plan, but the one who waits sees the whole battlefield before committing. The same is true in arguments, negotiations, and psychological warfare. The one who reacts first doesn't just reveal his stance, he locks himself into it, losing the flexibility to adapt. If you can resist that first pull to answer, even for a few seconds, you gain something priceless: information. You'll see how confident they really are. You'll watch them twitch, adjust, and overplay their hand, and you'll do it without lifting yours. Most people can't stand silence. They'll rush to fill it, trying to pry a reaction from you, and in doing so, they'll show you far more than you could have learned by speaking. The greatest power moves often begin in apparent inactivity. Machiavelli understood that the pause before action isn't wasted time, it's a weapon. In that pause, you collect intelligence, observe alliances forming and breaking, and measure the true strength of your opponent's position. When you react instantly, you're playing blindfolded. But when you wait, patterns emerge. You see who steps forward with confidence, who hides behind others, and who betrays subtle signs of uncertainty. This is the real reconnaissance, and it's only available to the one patient enough to let the game reveal itself. The impatient man mistakes speed for control. He thinks striking first gives him the advantage, but speed without precision is chaos. Machiavelli knew that timing is not about being first, it's about being right. The blow that lands at the wrong moment, no matter how forceful, can be deflected, absorbed, or even used against you. But the blow delivered at the perfect moment needs only to land once. In conversation, this principle is just as lethal. The person who speaks too quickly in a negotiation often gives away their limits, what they're willing to settle for, what they fear losing. The one who answers slowly, measuring every word, makes the other side uncertain. They begin to wonder, what do they know? What are they waiting for? That uncertainty is leverage. Silence is not passive, it's an active shaping force. In debates, the man who holds his tongue forces his opponent to keep talking, often wandering into contradictions or revealing private motives. In politics, a leader who withholds public comment on a scandal lets opponents burn themselves out, while the public grows impatient for his inevitable decisive statement. In personal disputes, the one who refuses to be rushed shows they are not emotionally cornered. This doesn't mean you never move first. It means you choose moments when speed is unavoidable and advantageous, when you've already done the observing, already seen the angles, and know that the opening won't come again. Machiavelli would say that even a swift strike must be the product of long preparation. Patience is often misunderstood as inaction, but in the hands of the powerful patience is pressure. It makes the other side feel the weight of your silence, the inevitability of your move. Every day they wait, the tension builds. Every hour without your reaction, their confidence erodes. The beauty of this approach is that it doesn't just give you more control, it makes others believe you have more control than you actually do. They can't measure your position if you never fully reveal it. They can't read your hand if you never show your cards. And the less they know, the more mistakes they make trying to guess. Machiavelli knew that people fear what they cannot predict. When your timing is your own, you become unpredictable, not because you act randomly, but because you act from a place they can't access. They can't set traps if they don't know when you'll step forward. The impulsive person is like an open book: flip the right page, press the right button, and they react exactly as expected. But the disciplined one forces the world to adjust to their rhythm. And once others are reacting to you instead of you reacting to them, the entire balance of power flips. This is why he often advised rulers to create delays by design. A decision delayed is a decision that ripens. In the meantime, rival factions may turn on each other, and opponents' resources may dwindle, or public opinion may shift in your favor. The longer you hold your position without committing, the more the field changes without you lifting a finger. In personal interactions, this delay works the same way. Someone sends a sharp message expecting an immediate reaction. Instead, you wait. They stew. They replay what they said, wondering if they went too far. By the time you respond calmly, surgically, they've already lost the emotional high ground. But here's the nuance: Machiavelli understood you can't delay forever. Wait too long without purpose, and you risk looking indecisive. The key is controlled timing, pausing just long enough for your move to have maximum impact, but never so long that your relevance fades. It's a balance between patience and presence. This is also why he valued false openings. By appearing ready to act, you can draw opponents into premature moves, revealing their intentions before you've even started. They commit their forces thinking they're anticipating you, only to realize you never planned to move at all. Their resources are spent, their position is exposed, and you remain untouched. In today's fast-paced world, this is almost easier. People are addicted to instant feedback. If you resist that pull, you automatically stand out. Your lack of haste becomes a statement, one that forces others to wonder what you're seeing that they're not. The truth is, most battles are decided not by strength, but by sequence. Who moves first is less important than who moves last. And when you move last after everyone else has shown their hand, you're playing with perfect information. That's the position every strategist wants, and patience is the only currency that buys it. To Machiavelli, timing wasn't just a tactic, it was a form of psychological warfare. When you wait, you don't just gain information, you create discomfort. And discomfort makes people reckless. Most individuals, when faced with silence or delay, feel an urge to fill the gap. They explain too much, make unnecessary concessions, or tip their hand entirely. The longer you can hold your ground without reacting, the more likely they are to make the mistake for you. It's the art of letting them dig their own hole while you stand at the edge watching. This is why patience feels like pressure to the unprepared. They mistake your stillness for plotting, and in a way they're right. You're plotting, but not in the frantic way they imagine. You're studying, measuring, and waiting for the moment when the smallest move will cause the largest collapse. Machiavelli would say that a late strike is rarely forgotten, while a fast one is rarely respected. People remember the blow that came after they thought they were safe because it rewrites the whole story in their mind. They thought they'd won, or at least escaped, and then you arrived. That's why the most effective counterattacks come not in the heat of conflict, but when the other side is lowering their guard. In the modern arena, this plays out in countless ways. In business negotiations, you wait for the other party to reveal their bottom line before speaking yours. In personal disputes, you let the initial wave of emotion pass so your words cut through the noise instead of getting lost in it. In public image battles, you allow your rivals to exhaust themselves with overexposure while you appear rarely each time with precision. And there's another layer: when you move less often, every move carries more weight. If you speak rarely, people lean in when you do. If you take action sparingly, each action feels intentional and important. This is how leaders control not just the outcome of events, but the tempo of the entire environment around them. That's why restraint isn't weakness, it's leverage. Every time you refuse to react on command, you send the signal: I move when I decide, not when I'm told. And the moment people believe that about you, they start to play on your schedule. Machiavelli understood that in any contest, whether political, personal, or strategic, the clock is a weapon. Whoever controls the clock controls the terms of engagement. And the most subtle way to control it is by forcing others to wait on you. When people are waiting, they're thinking about you. They're rehearsing your possible responses, questioning their own decisions, and sometimes even softening their position before you've said a word. Delay isn't just the absence of action, it's an active reshaping of the opponent's state of mind. This is why controlled absence is so powerful. By stepping back at critical moments, you create a vacuum. Nature and human nature hates a vacuum. People will rush to fill it with speculation, gossip, or preemptive moves. And while they're doing that, you're free to plan without interference. But absence must be intentional. Too long away and you fade from relevance. Too short and it loses its sting. The art is in returning at the exact moment when your presence has maximum impact, when your arrival changes the mood of the room, alters the direction of conversation, or signals a turning point in the situation. There's also the weapon of the slow yes. In negotiations or requests, never give an immediate answer, especially if the other side is in a hurry. The longer they wait, the more they'll reveal to keep you engaged. They'll offer sweeteners, drop hints about their priorities, and sometimes even talk themselves into a weaker position just to speed up your decision. In conflict, this same principle flips. A slow reaction to an insult, challenge, or attack makes the other person wonder if they've underestimated you, or worse, if you're planning something bigger. That uncertainty is often more effective than any direct retaliation. In the public sphere, controlled timing can shape perception itself. If you address an issue too quickly, you risk being seen as defensive. Wait until the frenzy cools and you can speak with authority instead of desperation. By then, many have already moved on, and your voice feels like the final word rather than just another shout in the crowd. To Machiavelli, the most dangerous opponent wasn't the one with the sharpest sword, it was the one who knew exactly when to draw it. There's a reason great strategists, from generals to negotiators, speak of the decisive moment. It's not the first moment, or even the obvious one, it's the moment when action will have the greatest effect for the least effort. Machiavelli built his philosophy around finding that moment and refusing to act until it arrived. The impatient player burns energy early, striking when their emotions demand it. The patient player conserves energy, lets the terrain shift, and only commits resources when the victory is nearly inevitable. This is not luck, it's discipline married to observation. One of Machiavelli's most effective tactics was to let others spend themselves. Rivals would throw their strongest attacks early, believing that an immediate show of force would overwhelm him. He would absorb the pressure, make small calculated adjustments, and allow their momentum to run dry. By the time they were exhausted, he was still fresh, and that's when he moved. In modern life, this translates to letting situations play out just past the breaking point before stepping in. In office politics, you allow two competing parties to weaken each other before you present your solution. In debates, you let the other side talk themselves into contradictions before you make your single targeted point. This approach has another benefit. When you act sparingly, each move is harder to predict. If you respond to every minor provocation, people can track your patterns. But if you remain silent 9 times out of 10, the 10th time you act becomes an event, one that carries weight and makes people reconsider underestimating you again. Machiavelli also saw the power in feigned unawareness. Pretend not to notice an insult, a maneuver, or even an opportunity until the exact moment you choose to address it. This lulls others into thinking they've escaped your notice, lowering their guard just before you strike. The contrast between perceived inaction and sudden precision is what makes the impact devastating. And here's the truth, most people miss speed can impress, but timing commands respect. A fast move might make them gasp. The right move at the right time will make them remember. Machiavelli believed that control over timing was inseparable from control over perception. If you choose when to act, you also choose how your action is remembered. Most people think memory is shaped by the event itself. In reality, it's shaped by the sequence, what came before it, what followed, and how long it took to arrive. This is why he often let others create the opening for him. If someone made a public misstep, he wouldn't pounce immediately. He'd let the mistake breathe, let whispers spread, let the person's own allies start to doubt them. Then when trust was already eroding, he'd make a small surgical move that looked effortless, but landed with finality. In today's terms, that might mean holding back criticism until your opponent's actions have already begun to damage their credibility. It might mean delaying a business decision until the market naturally tilts in your favor. It might even mean waiting in a personal conflict until the other side is forced to acknowledge their role in creating it. Another layer to this is owning the aftermath. When you act too quickly, the dust hasn't settled, and you can't control how your move is interpreted. But when you act after the chaos, your action becomes the closing chapter. People remember the ending more vividly than the middle, and if you write that ending, you write the story. There's also a tactical humility in this approach. By not rushing to be the hero or the loudest voice in the room, you let others take the spotlight and the risks that come with it. You let them burn political capital, drain energy, and bear the weight of scrutiny. When the moment is right, you step in with clarity, unburdened by their mistakes. Machiavelli would say this: when they expect you to act, wait. When they expect you to wait, act. The power isn't in being unpredictable for its own sake, it's in aligning your move with the exact point where it changes the entire balance of the game. And once you've done it a few times, something remarkable happens. People stop trying to trap you on their timeline. They start to respect and even fear the fact that you move only when it serves you. In Machiavelli's world, the final and most important principle of timing was this: always make your move feel inevitable. When the moment finally comes, it shouldn't look like a sudden decision. It should feel as though everything was leading here from the start. That's why patience isn't just about waiting, it's about preparing in silence. Every conversation you have, every alliance you strengthen, every piece of information you gather should be building toward that moment so that when it arrives, you act with precision and nothing feels improvised. This creates a psychological effect that's more powerful than the move itself. People look back and connect the dots: your absence at certain moments, your silence during others, the way you never seem rushed. They begin to believe you were orchestrating the outcome all along, whether or not that's true. And once people believe you control the flow of events, they start to adjust their behavior in advance without you even needing to act. The beauty of this approach is that it turns even small victories into legends. A single well-timed decision can erase months of apparent inactivity in the public mind. The strike is remembered, the waiting is forgotten. But this requires one more discipline: the clean exit. After the move, you don't linger to bask in the victory or explain your reasoning. You step back, letting others talk, speculate, and magnify the story. Your absence after the act creates just as much impact as your absence before it. This is how power sustains itself without constant exertion. You're not always fighting for position, you're holding it effortlessly because your reputation for decisive, perfect timing does most of the work for you. And that's the point Machiavelli would leave us with in a world full of people scrambling to act. First, the true master waits. He doesn't wait out of fear or laziness, he waits because he knows that the right move at the right moment makes all the other moves unnecessary. When you own the clock, you own the game.